Welcome to EPEW 2021. We're so excited to have you join us here with the wonderful Miss Kymm Ballard for her session today. A few things, this is a live Zoom, so if any tech issues come up, please hold tight, be patient. If something really goes wrong, we'll be sending out an email to let you know of any updates or what's going on with that. We are asking if you can stay muted during, unless we kind of ask you to unmute for something in order to keep the interruptions to a minimum. If you have a question, go ahead and put it into the chat box. And also if you can in the chat, let us know who you are, where you're from, so we can see who all is involved here. That would be excellent. And we will be letting Kymm know as questions come up, but for you guys, put them in the chat box and we'll make sure Kymm answers those on your end. If you are on social media and are going to be posting about this, if you can please use the hashtags EPEW 2021 and EPEW family, that would be awesome. And otherwise, we are good to go. Here is the wonderful Kymm.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kymm Ballard. For those of you that I don't know, I see some folks that I do. And I teach at Campbell University, which is a really small Baptist college in North Carolina. We are very liberal, though, for a Baptist college, which is very nice. And I also am the president-elect for Shape America, but I'm also president-elect for North Carolina Shape. So got a lot going on this year. But it's been really fun, and as you know, it's been a really hectic year through higher ed and trying to figure out how in the world are we going to get our teachers ready to go out and student teach. And I'm going to share a little bit about what I did and a little bit, though, about what's coming up, because now we've got to get them ready again for something that's the unknown. We still don't know what's going to happen in K-12. And one thing's for sure is I don't want to go back to where we were, right? I want us to do something bigger and better. So let's get started. As you know, of course, things went berserk. Everything was gone, but that's not a bad thing because now things can be new again, right? We can restock these shelves with things we didn't know before. We've learned from the past, right? We've learned and we can restock things with things we didn't know because we were forced to learn new things. Right? Our playgrounds, yeah, we had to clean them up. We had to do some new things. We had to sterilize. But what can we do different with them as well? We also had some bad things that happened throughout the year. We had a lot of spotlights come on some of the big issues that America has. You know, we're known across the world as being the leader and the strongest country in the world. And, you know, we're supposed to be the biggest and the best. And yet we were really exposed over the last year about who we really are in the heart of our country, not only with our homeless and others, but with our veterans, with our racism, with, you know, all of our hatred of various gender and sexual orientation and all of those things, and even our elderly. So that was my mom, y'all. And a lot of this came to light during the pandemic. And that was really eye-opening for those people that really took the time to think about. And a lot of people were hurting during this time. They were hurting financially. They were hurting with their hearts. Parents learned a lot about what was going on. They learned a lot about physical education. They learned about what we go through as teachers. Very supportive in the beginning and very not so much at the end. They were ready to get rid of them, right? Send them back to us. And we had to really pivot. I mean, like we said, and the pivot is what I want to tell you guys is not over. A lot of us think we're going back to school and things are going to go back the same. And for some people, it probably will. And no matter if we're going back to K-12 or to, you know, higher ed, I want us to remember to continue that grace. Because when we go back, it's going to be the same kind of thing. Kids are going to come back to unknown. Some of you have already gone back, and I still think we're going to have to reestablish those guidelines and whatever it is that we're going to do. And I don't know that they have to be the same either. So what does it mean for our HETE and PP teachers going back to school during this? It's still part of COVID, right? Is somebody admitting them, or do I need to? What does it mean during this time, though? And what does it mean after? Now that COVID, this part's over, we have a new strand that's coming through, right? And this new strand, we don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know if we're going to be in school the whole fall or not, right? We really don't know. We think we're okay, but are we? Are we going to be in school the whole fall and the whole spring? Who can tell me for sure that we are? So how are you going to plan for your year? How are you going to plan for our student teachers? How am I going to plan my college classes? So that I don't have to stop and pivot all of a sudden, not knowing again, how can I prepare? Right? So what are you doing? What are K-12 teachers doing? How can we help each other in both higher ed and in K-12? Because man, it's mind blowing when you're by yourself. You don't want to be out there by yourself. And for some people, that was really a real thing this year. So to me, this is a real exciting time for change. Good teaching is good teaching, yes, but it's not great. We want to be great teaching, right? I also think that we need to let kids move and talk. This is a time when we can go back and we can think about a real child-centered program and mean it, not just say it. We can go back, we can rethink our programs, not come back to just doing the same things we used to do, the same rules, the same guidelines, the same everything. Yes, structure is extremely important, extremely. But what have we learned from where we were to where we are? What things did we have in place that we can really go back and look at that weren't equitable? What things can we look and go back and think about that weren't diverse enough? And what things weren't that inclusive? What things are we doing as teachers that were excluding students, and change those? Change the way they came in, change the way they sat down, change the way they picked groups, change the way whatever was going on, but really talk to and get them in that child-centered focus area. And that even goes for our higher ed folks. We still have to make that about our kids too. What were we doing? What does our syllabi look like? I've been going through all of my syllabi this summer and looking and see if it really is equitable. And I'm looking to see if, there are pieces in there that I need to change. And how am I doing my assignments? Does everybody have to turn in the same exact assignment? Do they? So a lot of thinking for this, for this going back. And that's what I'm saying. This is a time of change for us, a real time of change. And if we think about going back to school and going back and changing our higher ed program, our K-12 program, and really pulling together, we can close a little bit of that gap between the two. What did we learn from those virtual classroom experiences? What are some things you learned? Just jot down right quick, just 2 or 3 things that you really thought were good. Teaching online, what were some things that were good? Just jot them down. Shoot. All right, unplug, unmute. Who wants to share something? What was something that you learned through this time? Anybody?
I think George here, Kim, I think that the students and us as educators were in the same boat. We all were forced to isolate and be closer to our families than we were used to. And, I had to rely on only a small knit group. And, I remember talking to them about making sure to say thank you to your family, even if they get annoying and, you're frustrated, but like, remember that they're doing their best and you're going to do your best. And we were in the same boat and we could like share that emotion.
Yeah, and you remember the little thing that came out that, yeah, we might be in the same pond, but we're not necessarily in the boat that looks alike, that some of us are in a smaller boat, some of us are in a canoe, and some are in a yacht, right? And the one thing you said about isolation, you're right. And we were. Now, push your thinking a little bit, everybody. Push your mind a little bit, that some kids feel that way year round, not just during the pandemic. The way that we all felt, hang on to that feeling, because they feel that way all year long. And how the things you had to come up with to think about doing during the pandemic to make everyone feel acceptable, what can you do now when you go back to school to make all kids feel that way? Those are the kinds of little changes I'm saying that we need to think about making when we go back. These are things we've learned. Who's got another one? What else did we learn?
Wendy Jones here. So I worked with a lot of, so I do higher ed. So I worked with a lot of pre-service teachers and student teachers, and I saw a tremendous amount of resourcefulness on the part of the teachers and a part of the students too. So they opened the door to what is available in your close environment that you can use to have fun and play and be joyful in this kind of restricted environment. And I saw that with the adults, and I saw that with the kids too.
Yeah. So creativity opened up, right?
Mhm.
I'm certainly taking some of that back. I opened my classroom more. You probably did the same thing. I opened my classroom more to people than I've ever done. I didn't know all the stuff they needed. I certainly wasn't that technology savvy. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in here. So yeah, that was good. What else? Who else? Anybody want to share? Yeah.
Jess here. I think I for one learned about myself that like I love to learn, and I think I learned more how to learn this year.
Oh,
like
good.
Everyone was in the same boat, having to relearn what this new situation that we were all in, and then also like having to learn in front of students, having that spotlight on you as a teacher and being the one that has to learn at the same time, was definitely like, you know, it was quite an experience. And I actually enjoyed that side of it, of having to teach students how to learn by doing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun. But
Yeah.
I think just that awareness of like, this is what we're teaching, is like, I mean, I teach students how to learn about their bodies, right? Like that's one way of looking at it. And then having that experience as well with them was pretty cool.
Yeah, good one. And that refreshness of learning for us is good. And looking for new ways of that learning obviously is always good. So I ask you before we go back, is create a vision for what you really want when we go back, and not thinking about going, let's change that word, going back, because we don't ever want to go backwards. We always want to go forward. So think about your vision. Now, I'm not saying you got to change everything you do. I'm talking about little changes. I'm talking about little things that you can take with you from before. You don't want a total overhaul. Well, some people may need a total overhaul. I'm not going to say don't do it, but most people just need to think and rethink about what we were in, what happened, and what little things that we can take with us, right? So some of the things were, it was a lot more light and fun in my classes, right? I gave a lot more grace. I need to still do that. I need to go back and remember and still do that. Those are not things that need to be done just in a pandemic, right? And my class expectations and communication changed during the times of when we were virtual. The thing that hurt me the most was kids came on and they were on mute. I did not want them on. I missed the classroom chatter. I missed it. I was like, y'all, come on, don't be on mute. Talk. They would not talk. They felt the most uncomfortable talking there, and they wouldn't talk. So I learned quickly to put them in some small breakout rooms when they first come in. But get them talking, get them together. That was the only communication that some of them had. And my class expectations changed on what they can do and how much they could do, and the stress that they were under. How are we going to meet again? What went well on the virtual part? How much of that am I going to do still virtually? Are there things we can do virtually? Now, K-12, don't get scared, because I think there are some things that worked really well that we might still be able to do. Don't be afraid that that's going to take your job. and me too, not to be afraid it's going to take my job, because I think that there are some things like homework that we can do, because for the first time in a long time, kids finally did something at home instead of just at school. So PE is not just a school thing. PE is now a home thing because they know they can do it. They have seen it outside of the gym now. They've seen it at home. They know they can do it at home. So don't be afraid of sending homework now. Parents have seen it. And you don't even have to call it homework. Call it something else. I don't even like the word homework. It's not work. Home play, home fun, parent time, something that's fun, right? But where you're extending your skill work, because you may only have them 1 or 2 days a week, right? But extend your time of skill at home just like you did online. And you got all the videos you've already made. They can do those at home, right? But extend that time that gives them a little more time to practice the things that you don't have time for them to do. So think about those kinds of things. And for us, higher ed, I'm thinking about new types of office hours, doing virtual office hours. I still want to be in face-to-face, but I'm thinking about doing some that I live an hour away. So I may do some home hours that are at different times, especially for my athletes. They may need a nighttime hour. I would have never done that. But with some of my athletes, they may need a later time. That's what happened this time, and I met with them late, and to me, that was okay. So I'm thinking about different office hours, and I did it, and I'm looking through that syllabus for all that stuff that, I've learned over the summer, and I learned through the pandemic about things that were unfair and things that we weren't really looking for, and, looking at kindness and how we're not generating that normally in our class. We say we do a lot of times, but what was I really doing? I hurt my feelings a lot. I hurt myself. But it's worth it to take a look and see what those things are. But don't beat yourself up, because you know what? We came through it. We did it. And it was a learning process. And that's the best part. So I've set up something on Flipgrid. And what I want you to do is just think about this question of, what are you most concerned about heading back to school? And I don't mean it has to be a huge concern, even if it's small. And then what are you taking away, from the virtual teaching? Okay, what are you most concerned about? And then what's something you're taking away from virtual teaching that you think might be good? So here's the link, and I'll copy and paste that in the chat. You sign in as a guest. So when you get to it, this is the one you'll link on. From here, you'll get to here. And then down here it says, enter your guest password. So if you got accounts, don't sign into your account. And your your account word is Ballard20. So let me see if I can pop this in the chat right quick. Where's my Zoom? There we go. I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to find it in case anybody has trouble getting in. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one, on this slide specifically, because I want you to come back to it. Now, you may need to mute if you want to talk. Sandy, I'm here if you need me.
You always have my 6, Kymm. Thank you.
I got you. Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if I set that. Hang on a second. Well, maybe not. I don't see it. So it don't let you record as it is?
I see people talking, so my guess is that they're recording.
Okay. I have 0 responses yet, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't see any.
I'm able to get on. I just finished recording it. I'm doing the rest of it now.
Okay, great. So copy and paste that link and write down the password. So save that link and the password, because we're going to come back. And then you can go back to that at any time and listen to everybody else's. Listen to what they say. Listen to what they're looking forward to going back to. Listen to some of the things they're going to be doing this time, hopefully going back. And those that didn't get on, we'll troubleshoot, okay? Okay, so Oscar said he had to go into his personal account if he had a personal account. So you might have to do that. You might have to try either way, because I think Jess had to go in as a guest.
Yeah, going in as a guest made it not a problem whatsoever. Then you type in the Ballard 20 and you go straight in. If you try using either a personal or work accounts,
Right.
if you try joining with Google or whatever, it will not work.
No, you have to go in as a guest. That's why that's
Yes.
circled down there.
And Kim asked me to try it earlier, and I was like, it's not letting me in. And that's like, oh yeah, the guest part, that's important.
And of
Kim,
course, Becky.
Kim,
Go ahead.
I submitted a response and it doesn't seem to be showing up. Is it showing up on your end?
I'm not in there yet, but I'll love a look. I may not have them set to show yet.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay, perfect.
Yep. I'll go in and check it in a minute. All right. Thanks for doing that. And then I want you to go back and check everybody else's in a little bit too. Okay. I want to share a little bit about what my students said that was the most helpful for them. And these are things that they'll probably take away as well.
My name is Brandon Nicholson. I am a health and PE major at Campbell University. I'm coming to you from a student standpoint and looking shortly down the road here at when I will step into student teaching. Some of the key areas that we have focused on this semester is really how to stay effective from an online or a remote learning standpoint. We already know it's our job to promote healthy living, to want children to grow up to be physically active and healthy for a lifetime. So with the pandemic, we had to go back to the drawing board, right? Because with online learning, that requires a lot of screen time. So being said, we did still focus a lot on technology, but it's physically active technology. So we use things such as like Edpuzzle, where you can develop fitness games for students to do at home. And then there's always the option to do what I'm doing right now and demonstrate movements and give students homework this way. I also highly or very much intend to do live classes like this with my students once I step into that role. I think for me, the biggest takeaway and something that made me very proud to be a PE major was how physical educators came together and really helped each other out to develop programs. And it wasn't about us. It was about the students. It's very student-centered, and it's about their success. So I'm not super active on Twitter. I will get there. But I love to see how you guys have all really focused and shared each other's information and programming and lesson plans and things like that to help everybody be successful. So that's it for me. Some key points.
The thing I believe that helped me the most this semester was Dr. Ballard provided us an opportunity for guest speakers from all over the world to come into our Zoom classes and provide us some tips for teaching in the virtual learning environment. Initially, I was nervous about teaching PE virtually, but hearing that even the most experienced teachers were also feeling like it was their first year again helped ease my mind. Another thing I think was in our Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, Dr. Ballard saved Monday for pedagogy, Wednesday was our technology instruction days, and Friday she provided us opportunities to practice and integrate our technology we learned on Wednesdays into our current lesson plans. After learning and practicing some technology tools that could be used within a different number of learning management systems, I felt more prepared to purposely teach my students. And I think the key factor for teachers and student teachers is for them to feel comfortable using technology in a way that's effective and engages students, not just to integrate some sort of technology that isn't useful. It's one thing for us to teach our students, but to purposely and effectively teach our students is our main goal. And I believe using applications and teaching methods that engages our students is the best way to do that, which is why I think on the Wednesdays where guest speakers came in to help us with technology tools was the best thing and was informing for us, because it gave us real life examples for us to see how other teachers, real teachers, were using this in their classrooms and it was working. The virtual learning environment provides teachers with a whole bunch of different obstacles, but I think Dr. Ballard's efforts in getting us as many resources as possible for myself and my classmates really helped me gain my confidence in teaching online. And personally, I'm grateful for the virtual learning environment because it provided me opportunities to learn from other professionals in the physical education field that I otherwise probably wouldn't have had an opportunity to do so when we were in person. So the virtual learning environment is tough, and it can be kind of tricky to learn the tools and the ways to do it, the best way to do it. But I think it also provides us other opportunities that otherwise, without it, we probably wouldn't have.
Hi, my name is Isaiah Birch. I am a senior here at Campbell University. And one thing I learned from Dr. Ballard's class this semester was resources. She brought in a lot of different people to talk about different resources that we can use as students that are teaching online. It made me a lot more confident in teaching online. I learned how to use a bunch of different resources like Edpuzzle, and she brought in someone that was well-versed in Google Slides, and so I really got into the depths of Google Slides, which is, I just always use the basics, so seeing all the different ways it can be used to benefit students was great to see. And all this just made me feel more comfortable and more relaxed going into student teaching, knowing that it is possible. And so the biggest takeaway I had from this was just realizing that we're all in this together, we're all learning together. Teaching online is new for everyone. And so it was just very helpful. It was a very helpful class, and I'm thankful for it.
So you can, let me make sure that's off. Yeah. So you can see my kids were, they learned a lot. And this is not about me, this is about them. This is something we tried. But what happened was, this wasn't planned. As we created this class together, pretty much, we decided what we needed. We decided together the things that we thought would be most helpful for them. And how did we do that? We reached out to the community. We reached out to where they're going to be student teaching and found out what their learning management system was and started preparing from there. So from there, what I did was we created vision boards and used those to see where my kids wanted to be, what do they like, what's you know, what do they value. We got to know each other really well at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, we came back and checked those vision boards. And so that was really important. And some of those things changed a little bit because what we started out with, especially in January, was very different. Not very, but some of those things were different by the end of May because of being out of school again. And then you can just see, these are some of the folks, you'll recognize some of these names in here, Jess, and some of you guys are there. I brought in these teachers to talk to my kids. There's Matt, you see him, to talk to my kids about what it's like out there, what's going on in the pandemic world. I could not speak to that. They can. And they also let them know, as you heard one of my students say, we're scared too. We don't know. We're fine through it by the seat of our pants, just like you are. And we're working together. We're doing our best. And here's some resources for you and to hang in there and just hit it head on. Here's some of the things you might see. Here's how many classes you might have. Here's some of the things you might run into. Here's some of the solutions that we found. One of the best things I'd ever done. Am I going to do that again next year? Yes. Will it be a different topic? Yes, probably so. But it was great. It was an idea to bring in the best of the best to talk to my kids and introduce them to some of the superstars out there. You'll recognize Becky and Mark, of course. They're incredible. They were the ones that came in and talked to my kids a little bit about their website. They talked to them about Google Slides. They came in for 2 days. They took 2 days out of their work and spent with my kids 2 hours. And then also on any email that they needed. But man, was it worth it. I forgot I have my pandemic hair. But man, was it worth it for them to come in and do that. Because I could never have taught my kids what they could teach them. And if I didn't have at least the guts enough to admit that I didn't, and that I needed help and recognize my weaknesses, which I would not have probably taught these kids what I didn't know. They did. And then we learned about the social media from Guy there, Dan Hoff. And we talked about getting their resumes ready and how they were going to market themselves going out in a pandemic, now going to school, now starting school for the first time, having never really been with kids because they taught online, most of them. And what were they going to do? We were already preparing for that. And what kind of interview did they need to be in? And what kind of things did we need to do to start school when they finally did go back? So we had to think ahead about that, and it was really good. And I prepared them. I was like, you're starting over. You get to start fresh. You don't have anything holding you back. You get to start fresh. This is your program. You're in the best position of all. Start where you know to start and build your program from there. Some of the things the kids did, they learned how to do some online stuff, of course, that Becky and them taught them. And this was Pear Deck, so we had other people, of course, come in and teach it as well. This was Haley's. She was my little star student, you could probably tell, but she really grasped what we were doing in technology, and she's going to use it. She's got a job now, and she's actually talking about how she's going to do some of this stuff after, during homework and home play and stuff like that. That's where we were talking about doing it. This is just more of their work, and this was from their Flipgrid, and just more of their work that they did. Becky and Mark taught them this as well. This was a resource we put together from NC Shape. These links all have a ton of resources in them. You can find that on ncshape.org. Just wanted to make sure and throw that out there. There's stuff that you can just assign or go to or use for yourself. So, HETE professionals. Join the HETE, well, it's really called the PETE Collaborative, but it's really grown into both HETE and PETE. If you're not a part of that collaborative, join it. And let me know if you don't. Just shoot me a quick email, and I'll add you to the list, or send it to the folks that can add you to the list. Or if you know any of these people I've just listed, go ahead and email them and say, hey, add me to the PETE Collaborative. So it's a group that meets every month. And you know how the K-12 people have their hashtag PETE, hashtag phys ed, hashtag health ed, and they all work together and share information? Well, this is the same thing for higher ed. This is our group, and it's called the PETE Collaborative. And so it's everything. We have a Google Drive share. We share the hashtags that you see there. We have website meetings. There's podcasts that you can go back and listen to. It's really pretty cool. This is the website that we share. And you can go back, like I said, and listen to different things, listen to all the ones that we've listened to before, and we keep all of our webinars and stuff on that website. So please join that if you're not a part of that yet. Some other free resources for us in higher ed there. And of course, well, higher ed, it's free to professors. There's a Spark University, if you haven't heard of it. And there's some great videos on there to model teacher strategies. Things like how to manage classrooms. You know, what are some strategies? What are some things we can do? So if you don't have a place or somewhere to show kids that, this was where we turned to during the virtual era. But now I found all these videos on all these other places that I can still use in my classroom today. Even though it's maybe not be virtual, I may still be able to use these or make assignments with these. So Shape America did some. They had teachers teaching students on there that you can review or have your students evaluate. If we're still having a hard time getting into schools, we don't know that we're going to be allowed. I mean, I'm assuming we will, but there may be times where we're not. Shape America has stories from the field on their website, and Shape America's professional prep council, had an amazing, effectively teaching HETE and PETE during COVID era webinar that you should go back and listen to. It was amazing. It talked about having virtual internships. It had adapted PE. It talked about how do we do Ed TPA, doing these experiences, and it just had a ton of resources. So it was a lot for you to, it'll be amazing to go back and hear that for. So just some parting thoughts. Like I said, we have to build the future. So even when you're falling on your face, first, you're still moving forward. So find out what the learning system, like the learning management systems are that your students are going to be doing, even if they're going out and doing observations. If they're going out in a school anywhere, find out what their learning management systems are, and then gear your classes towards those kinds of things. It'll just be better and easier on them in the longer run. Also, utilize the internet to reach your experts. Our K-12 people are phenomenal, but that doesn't go one way. See, most people think that's one way, but that doesn't, because you K-12 people, you need to be updated on what the newest research is around motor learning and around philosophies and around teacher pedagogy. You reach out to the experts as well. So that's a two-way street. Focus on SEL and stress management. That's for all of us. We definitely have to focus more on that. This is a time to look at those standards that we say we teach that we don't teach, that we haphazard think they're there, and we need to purposely teach them. We need to prepare kids so that anything ever comes around again in the next 50 years, which it will in another 50 years or so, that kids are ready. It needs to be part of an everyday piece. And so we need to be thinking about that. If you're not part of a PLN, Professional Learning Network, join somebody, join a group. We've had the Friday Night Family for, I'm going to get it wrong probably, but 67, 68 nights, Friday nights, in a row. And what happened was it was lonely. And there was a group of physical educators that got together and have been getting together and have gotten together, like I said, like 60 some nights in a row. And we have a link of teachers and states that we've gotten together and send stuff across the country. And it's just become a family. We've been able to share grandkids and deaths and marriages and all kinds of things together. And we've never met. We've never met in person, most of the people. And so we're meeting the first time coming up soon as some of the conferences, and we're very excited. That turned into family, but you can still use any kind of PLN. You may have a group online that you want to work with, but you may have somebody in your community. You may have a group at school. Find a group, find a home of some people that you can turn to. Don't stay it alone, but find a group of people. Don't worry about it, find it. And if you can't find anywhere else, come to the Friday Night Family on Friday nights. Utilize resources together. Model that grace. Please don't let go of that. Model that grace that we've had to provide and that kindness. That's the way of the world, and it would solve a lot of the problems in the world, and I think that's been brought to our attention for a reason. Not only for teaching our kids grace and teaching ourselves more grace, but to help model that word and that action and how that feels to our children, and so that they will grow up knowing what that means. And hopefully some of the hatred and some of the unkindness and all of that kind of stuff can start changing some of those systems. And model new kinds of class rules, new kinds of classes. Just remember, we're not going back. Don't go backwards. Let's think about how and what going forwards in physical education and health education might look like, and what we're planning for the future. So I'll have some resources for you. Go back and look at that presentation. I mean, the Flipgrid link in a little bit. If you haven't been on Becky and Mark's website, you just need to look up, it's www.cbhpe.org, and that's it. Go there. Or is it .com? Somebody?
I think it's .org. I'll double check. Matt put it into the chat earlier.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
.org.
Okay, good. And then the Shape America website has some, which are great. You might want to jot or take a photo of some of these hashtags. So these are some hashtags you can just put into Twitter and find some stuff. These are great, obviously, just to get involved with, to find things. Here's a chat you can get involved with, of course, that this group does. That's amazing, and you learn so much from people. And if you want to go back and look at them, just do the hashtag and go back and look and see what they are. Here's one on health that does the same thing. They put out a blog every week, and then you go and discuss that blog. You do it on your own time. You just put the hashtag in and look. Here's one where we send a teacher to a conference, and they have things every once in a while that you can purchase a shirt or a cup or something, and the money goes to help send a teacher to a conference. And if you need some technology, this is what Becky and Mark put in. They do tech tips, hashtag tech tips, and you can be able to find some of those. So these are just a few. There's so many out there. There's some that these people on the call right now or on the website right now can give you as well. So please put some stuff in the chat. Keep giving some resources for all that you have. There's my Twitter account. It's also my Instagram account and my Voxer. If anybody's still on Voxer, I still am on Voxer. It's my everything account. It's my Facebook. It's my Instagram. It's Twitter. It's everything. YouTube. Everything is my @Kymm Ballard. And then my school email there is ballardk@campbell.edu for those of you in higher ed that want to get in touch with me. Most of the rest of you probably have my email. But how can I help you? That's this is all that I wanted to share now. So I just want to know how now I can help you or answer any questions or think about where we're headed next.
So now would be your time to make use of Kymm for these last couple minutes here. If you have any last minute questions before we wrap up. As you're thinking of those last minute questions, if you have them, Scott has dropped into the chat the link for your certificate of attendance. It'll force you to make a copy. Go ahead and fill that out yourself. You can also go to our website, epew-cp.weebly.com, to access all of the other sessions in YouTube links. For the rest of the live sessions, make sure you go back to the email where you access this one as well. Coming up later today at 11 o'clock, we have an advocacy share time at 3 o'clock. Again, these are Pacific times. 3 o'clock, we have our Bring Your Own Ice Cream social. Kymm, any resources you want put out in the resource document we'll be sending out at the end of the conference, you can get those to me and I will make sure it's added in. We can add in that Flipgrid link and everything like that as well if you'd like.
Yeah, please do. Please add that. I put it in again so that people can be sure to have it. Go back and check it every once in a while and see what people are saying.
Go ahead and unmute if you got questions for. Otherwise, thank you for taking your time to join us. And thank you very much, Kymm, for joining us and helping us create this PETE strand that we truly feel is super important to our profession. So thank you for helping us with this.
We absolutely do. We've got to close that gap a little bit and make sure that we're all working together. So, Wendy, I got your email there and I will add you to the list.
Thank you for attending the 48th Annual Elementary Physical Education Workshop. We're glad you were here.
Please follow us on our social media platforms. EPEW can be found on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Please check out our website for links to more great sessions. Just go to epew-cp.weebly.com and click on the virtual EPEW 2021 tab at the top and scroll down.
EPEW 2021 Educators Assemble would not be possible without the support and dedication from the amazing EPEW committee. The committee has been hard at work for months preparing for this workshop. Thank you to Linda McGee, Barbara Gratton, Scott Wilson, Stephanie Sandino, Julie Miller, Jessica Monlux, Kayla Ailman, Shelby Lozano, Andrea Chavez, Scott Townsend, and Cindy Chase.
Thank you for attending EPEW, where our motto is, come to learn, leave as family.